Hey guys, thanks for joining us on part 2 of the 3-part series of our Tasmanian off-road adventure. This episode is again fully packed with adventures. We will be starting by tackling the Lake Cumberland Track, one of the notorious and supposedly most difficult tracks in Tasmania, but with a great reward. If you're up there, the view is absolutely spectacular. We will be visiting Trial Harbour beach. We will be getting lost in the Henty dunes, having a boat cruise on the Franklin Gordon River National Park. We'll be traversing Hell's Gate and tackling the Mount McCall and Mount Huxley track. So let's see. The next morning, Dave, John and myself had a fairly early start as we were planning to tackle the Lake Cumberland Track. Supposedly a reasonably difficult track which is recommended for modified vehicles and experienced drivers. The trek starts with some pretty decent sized ruts, but with a good spotter we negotiated them all fairly easily. Dave got hung up on one of the rock steps. However, choosing a different line and with a bit of spotting, that obstacle also was quickly negotiated.
Beautiful. Slow.
After you leave the open grasslands, you pretty much wind your way through a tempered rainforest. Absolutely beautiful, but obstacle-wise there are some fairly sharp turns, good boulders, a couple of rock steps. Certainly something which would require quite a bit of care with a not as modified vehicle than ours. I got hung up on one of the bigger rocks. However, with a little bit of throttle I managed to just scrape over it.
John, you reckon we can make that around here?
We'll have a scratch, see what happens.
Here we reached the main obstacle of the Lake Cumberland Track. It's a very sharp left-hand turn on uneven terrain with a drop-off to the left. Most people I saw driving the track on the various YouTube videos go straight ahead, and a little bit higher up is a kind of a turn bay. Then they turn around, drive back down and hook a right. But we thought that we should manage to do a sharp left turn with some shuffling around. John hooks left a little bit earlier, and with a narrower vehicle manages to get around there only with one shuffle.
Rear mud flat. Mud flat. Change. Alright. Is that alright?
The video doesn't really translate how deep the drop-off to the left is and how steep the track is. There's certainly a lot which can go wrong, and you certainly do not want to slip to the left off there. We made that left turn fairly easy, not too much hassle. The damage tally for the three vehicles is a scraped rear bar for myself, a scraped rear bar for Dave, and John broke the chain for his mud flap. But that was it. There was another very tight switchback which took a little bit forward and backwards to get around the corner there. This is not a good track if you love the paintwork on your vehicle. The pinstriping we received was not funny. I got a bit hung up here on my rock slider, so I need to reverse back, realign and take the right hand line.
Beautiful.
There was a Y intersection. The left hand side goes up a reasonable rocky section, while the right hand side pretty much stays straight on the track. We decided to go for the rocky section, which provided a little bit of fun. I have to say I'm very happy how the cruiser behaves, rock crawling and doing technical stuff. Actually a fair bit better than my touring Defender Milka. So yeah, very pleased with that. The suspension setup provided by Super Pro and Fulcrum suspension really worked very well for the touring part, but also for the technical driving part. I really can't fault it. On the top of the mountain it was pretty wet. I decided to go down that track, which really didn't look too bad, but after 50 meters I pretty much was sunk into the chassis and the winch needed to come out to pull me back out. For the most recoveries we will always prefer winch over snatch. The winch has far more control, it has no kinetic energy. We all run Dynama rope, so it is a far safer option than snatching a vehicle out. It is advisable to have a good quality hitch receiver bow shackle on the back of your vehicle, as if you only use a pin you can't really winch off the other vehicle, and especially in these kind of terrain there are very few trees. It is important that we are able to use the front vehicle as a winch anchor point. Dave was second in line for recovery when he tried to get through these puddles here. The winch was quickly hooked up and Dave was out within a couple of minutes. Unfortunately, that trend continued. Even when we got higher up, we thought it would be a bit drier, but everything is very muddy. So the winch came out again. And to be honest, if I go up there again, I'll probably park the car where the lake is and just walk. We initially planned to camp up at the lake. However, there was no dry spot to be found, so we decided to drive back down and camp somewhere where it was a little bit drier. On the way down, Dave was first and he turned right, but got into some funky angles, so we decided to drive up to the turning point, turn around there and then drive down straight. Couldn't find a camp spot. I had a chat to the locals, and after we talked for a couple of minutes, they revealed us a little secret spot, which is absolutely stunning. Pretty damn nice. So right next to the river. Oh! Oh. Sunday morning. It's a pretty windy night, but we were nice and sheltered. John MacGyver is doing some bush repairs.
Wait till a little bit of glue
for his air mattress with tire tube sticker.
Hopefully it sticks to this canvas.
I just see that you have a big crease underneath. I don't think that's going to work too well. Sunday morning, we are on our way to Zeehan from our secret camp spot. And yeah, yesterday, Saturday, I think it was probably overall one of the best days I ever had touring. It's certainly up in the top 3. If you go through Zeehan, it's definitely worthwhile to pay a visit to the Zeehan Heritage Museum. It's actually much bigger than it looks from the outside, and yeah, well worth the money in my opinion. Dave, if you want to have a rest. Manufactured 1895 in Munich, Germany, and then shipped all the way to Australia. Wooden pipeline, that is amazing. The museum has a lot of old mine artifacts and certainly would be very interesting for kids as well. It went so well until we got thrown to prison. It was a pretty uncomfortable night here. Fortunately, Dave bailed me out. Come on, you can't say you have been in prison yet in Tassie. Now you have. I always wondered how Freemasons Lodge looks.
Welcome and thank you for visiting this Freemasons Display Lodge. This display was established by West Coast Freemasons with items from the original Zeehan Lodge that was founded in 1890.
We Just thought we go for a play in the Henty dunes. That is huge, a huge dune area with a gazillion of tracks. No idea how we're ever going to find back. We thought we're going to drive, and pretty deep, probably, I don't know, at least a K or two deep, I would think, at pieces. We made it to the beach on two different tracks, not easy tracks, which, through super deep ravines in the dunes, just as narrow as a cruiser, where you pretty much scrape the sand on the side, but 3 times the height of the car. However, they all end pretty much on the Henty River. And the Henty River is between the actual beach and the ocean. So it's all one-way tracks. It seem to be tracks where people go to camp, which would be stunning. But very tight, usually suitable for one vehicle or so. Yeah, so now we try to find our way back. We'll see how that goes. Dave is in the lead now. We eventually found our way back out of the Henty dunes and made our way to Strahan. As the weather forecast for the next day wasn't too crash hot, we decided to do a couple of touristy things and booked a boat tour through Trial Harbour and into the Franklin Gordon Wild Rivers National Park. We camped the night at Breton Point, and the next morning we started our boat tour. Our first destination was Hell's Gate. It's a notoriously shallow and dangerous channel entrance to the harbour. It cost a lot of ships in the early days, and it was great to cruise through it with our modern boat. The boat's tour into the Franklin Gordon River is certainly worth it, and we managed to see some of the beautiful light reflections on the river. We also had a quick stop at the Heritage Landing site, where you can do probably a 15-minute walk around. It's a historic landing here, the Gordon River. Unbelievable if you consider that convicts escaped and escaped through this here without a walkway. In the evening we decided to do something for our cultural education and visited the local play, The Ship That Never Was. Dave, not quite out of his free will, managed to score a leading role in the play, quite to our amusement. However, he did a great job, and it was quite fun. Tuesday morning. This morning we cleaned our cars thoroughly, stayed the night at the caravan park, which was good because there's no facility to clean your car, so we had to use a hose in the caravan park, and then went to national parks where they pretty much inspect your vehicle and filled out a form, gave all of our details and so on, and got a key for the McCall track, which I've never been. Supposedly it's pretty easy, just the last section is a bit gnarly. McCall track is a very easy four-wheel drive track. You make your way up through the forest, and once you reach high altitude you start to get amazing views. Unless you want to go down to the river, it's not really advisable to go to the end. There's a couple of more rocky sections, but again fairly easy, but you have actually no view from the end, so you're much better off staying probably a kilometer or two before the end on the high peaks. It was already fairly late, so we stayed at a campsite at Crotty Dam. The campsite was pretty average, so we weren't keen to stay there much longer and left fairly early in the morning and made our way towards Mount Huxley. The trek up Mount Huxley is a fairly easy drive just outside of Queenstown. The last time I did it we were in deep clouds, so I didn't see too much, so I was keen to see what the views actually were, as the weather was perfect. In regards to the trek, there was nothing worthwhile filming, as it's all super easy. However, the views were quite nice. Again, I advise that you don't have to go to the end, because the trek just ends and there is actually no view, you can't see anything. You better stop a bit before the end where you still have good views. Queenstown. Interesting, the Red River of Queenstown. Supposedly the discoloration was caused by a spill in one of the mines. That's what I read in the local paper there. Quite a nice, quaint town actually, surrounded by beautiful hills. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy the video, please help us out and subscribe to my channel, like the video and leave us some comments. Tell me what you think are the best treks in Tasmania and if we missed something. Keep your eyes peeled for part 3, where we're going to be tackling Montezuma Falls, the notorious Ring River Road, Jacob's Ladder and the Bellingham Traverse.